Long ago, before time had a name, before stories were told around the fire, there stood a great mountain called Kirinyaga. Its snowy peak touched the clouds, and at its feet stretched a vast sacred forest known as the Ithaka. The forest was home to many creatures. Buffalo roamed the grasslands. Weaver birds built nests among the branches. Chameleons crept through the leaves. And tortoises wandered quietly beneath the trees. They had food. They had shelter. They had each other. But there was one thing they did not have. Stories. Every evening, the animals gathered beside a great flat rock near the river. They sat together in silence. No legends. No laughter. No wisdom passed from one generation to the next. For all the stories in existence belonged to Nyame, the creator. And Nyame kept them hidden inside a great god hanging in heaven. At the edge of the forest lived a spider named Njonjo. Njonjo was not strong. He was not fierce. He had no claws like the leopard. No venom like the cobra. No mighty roar like the lion. But Njonjo possessed something far more powerful. He paid attention. He noticed everything. He noticed how old Kobe the tortoise closed her eyes whenever she was thinking. He noticed how proud Njere the leopard was. And he noticed how the hornets became completely silent whenever rain began to fall. Each evening, Njonjo climbed the highest branch of the sacred Magumo tree and gazed toward the heavens. There, somewhere beyond the clouds, were the stories. And every night he asked himself the same question. What if everyone could hear them? One morning, Njonjo made a decision. He spun the strongest silk thread he had ever created. Then he cast it upward. Higher. And higher. Until it caught upon a cloud. Without hesitation, Njonjo began to climb. For 3 days he climbed toward the sky. The forest became smaller beneath him. The rivers looked like silver threads. Even mighty Kirinyaga became a tiny shape below. At last, he arrived at the gates of heaven. 2 warrior spirits stood guard. Their spears crackled with lightning. Their faces were painted with ash and ochre. Who dares approach the house of Nyame? They thundered. Njonjo stood tall. I am Njonjo wa Ithaka. I have come to negotiate. The warriors stared in astonishment. No one had ever said those words before. Curious, they allowed him to enter. At the center of heaven burned a fire so vast that it created its own weather. Beside it sat Nyame. Ancient. Powerful. Timeless. Little spider, said Nyame. Why have you come? Njonjo bowed respectfully. I have come for the stories. Nyame laughed. The heavens shook. The clouds trembled. You seek the stories. Then earn them. Nyame gave Njonjo 3 impossible tasks. Bring me Njere the leopard. Alive and unharmed. Bring me every hornet from Nyuki's nest. Without losing a single one. And bring me Ngugi the python. Measured from head to tail. Njonjo nodded calmly. I will return in 7 days. Back in the forest, Njonjo found Njere lounging upon a rock. The leopard looked magnificent, and he knew it. Njere, said Njonjo. I have come from heaven. The leopard immediately became interested. Nyame wishes to carve your image onto the gate of heaven. Njere smiled proudly. But Njonjo continued. Nyame wonders whether you may have become smaller. The leopard sprang to his feet. Smaller. Impossible. Then allow me to measure you, said Njonjo. Njere stretched out proudly. And before he realized what was happening, Njonjo had wrapped him completely in spider silk. Alive. Unharmed. Task 1 complete. Next, Njonjo visited the giant hornet nest. He carried a large empty gourd. Standing beneath the nest, he spoke loudly. What a shame. What a terrible shame. One curious hornet flew down. What shame? Njonjo sighed. Nyame believes your entire colony cannot fit inside this gourd. The hornets buzzed angrily. How dare anyone underestimate them? To prove Nyame wrong, every hornet flew into the gourd. The moment the last hornet entered, Njonjo sealed the opening. Task 2 complete. The final challenge was the hardest. Ngugi the python was ancient and wise. Simple tricks would never fool him. So Njonjo sat quietly beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Njonjo said, "There is an argument among the animals. They disagree about how long you are." Ngugi opened one eye. How long do they say? Some say 14 arm spans. Others say 20. Ngugi thought carefully. Then stretched himself along a fallen tree. Measure me. As the python stretched further and further, Njonjo quietly secured him with silk. Before Ngugi realized what had happened, he was measured and tied. Task 3 complete. Exactly 7 days later, Njonjo returned to heaven. He carried the leopard, the hornets, and the python. Nyame looked upon them with amazement. Then he smiled. You did not defeat them. You understood them. That is rarer than strength. Rarer than courage. Nyame reached upward and untied the great god of stories. Its golden light filled the heavens. Then he placed it into Njonjo's hands. From this day forward, these stories belong to all who gather around the fire and listen. That evening, the animals gathered once more at Itura Rock. As always, they expected silence. Instead, Njonjo placed the god in the center of the gathering. He broke the seal. A warm glow emerged. Not light. Not smoke. Something deeper. Something magical. Then Njonjo began to tell the first story. And another. And another. The children listened with wide eyes. The elders forgot to blink. Even the buffalo lowered its head and listened. For the first time in history, the forest was filled with stories. Late that night, after everyone had gone home, old Kobe the tortoise remained behind. Njonjo, she asked. Why didn't you keep the stories for yourself? Njonjo smiled. Then he spun a thin strand of silk between his fingers. A story kept alone becomes heavy. Heavier and heavier. But a story shared becomes lighter. It travels from one heart to another. And before long, it belongs to everyone. Kobe thought about those words for a long time. Then she smiled. And from that night onward, no evening at Itura Rock was ever silent again. Because stories had finally found their way home.